The end is nigh. Or is it?
So hiya and welcome to TGI Monday. Today we're talking about the end days. Right, yeah. So I thought to kick us off as we talk about the end days, well, I'm fascinated with all this guff. What are your favourite apocalyptic films?
Knowing.
Knowing?
Knowing, yeah.
I haven't seen that. What's that about?
Nicolas Cage. It's really good.
Okay, yeah.
Independence Day. Something really crappy like
Do you
that.
know, my mate watched that,
Yeah.
right? And at the end of it, he goes, "What a..." And then I can't say what
Oh
he
yeah.
said.
Sorry, when you said favourite, I think because they're so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's why.
It is a laugh. Like
Yeah.
when Will Smith punches the alien in the face. You know, like that. That's just really bad. Is it?
Entertaining.
They've remade it now, haven't they? Which is really sad.
Is it 2012?
Yeah, that is funny.
That's good.
That's absolutely dreadful. Isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
So funny. I saw it at the cinema.
The neutrinos are mutating.
Yeah, I like the Hunger Games. And last night I was watching Insurgent, not Insurgent, the other one.
That's a really good series.
Divergent. They are good.
They're
yeah.
a really good series. The books are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the
That's
new
much better.
Allegiant Part 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that's
good.
what I was watching last
It's good.
night.
Although they give away
Amazing
too much at the
series.
beginning of the film that you don't get given till right to the end of the book. That's really weird.
But Maze Runner's a bit rubbish, you know. Watch the first one, that was good. So
Books are
they're
good.
Rubbish.
Films are rubbish.
Yeah. Right, so we've got a question in today about the end times, and it's from Frida, and she's asked, are we living in the latter days? So what do we think? Are we living in the latter days?
Yeah.
Is it? Or explain.
Well, by the time this show is over, 1,000 people on Earth will have died. Because according to the World Health Organization, the death rate is about 150,000 a day. So 150,000 people, it is the end days. Or day.
For
or
them.
hour.
How many are born?
For us.
Yeah, there are more people on
There's
Earth
more
than
people
there ever have been.
born. Yeah, the
Ridiculously
birth rate
more.
is higher. But it was great working in school because, you know, now and again during break, a teenager would come up to me in a tizzy and go, "Reverend Paul, I saw on YouTube it's the end of the world. Is it?" And I'd go, "Yeah, bye-bye," and walk off.
Deeply
I
pastoral.
know, but what happens then is they run after you, and then someone says, "Why are you running after Reverend Paul? He said that it's the end of the world," and then they're all like, suddenly you've got a
Before
whole
you know it, you're wearing a
congregation.
sandwich board saying the end, the world, the end of the world is not.
There was this guy in Birmingham though on the weekend, right, on Saturday, and he was outside Waterstones, like kicking off about, like, you know, Jesus is the escape route, the end is coming, and he was there for ages, and I was like, oh.
There's always been someone in Wolverhampton doing that. And if you spend 5 minutes on YouTube, it would convince you that there is good theological evidence that the end of the world is nigh, very nigh, and interpreting all the signs and wonders. But then if you spend 5 minutes in a history section in the library, you'll know that every single generation has also always thought that they were, a generation of Christians have always thought that they were
Well,
in the
some
end
have, haven't
times.
they? It's not, some have.
Well, right back from the beginning, the very first Christians
Yeah.
didn't expect to have a natural death because they thought they'd have been taken up to heaven.
Yeah, the Essenes, they were all celibate. Strangely enough, that community died out.
Yeah, they were quite early on. Weren't they? But I think what's behind it though? Is there anything behind it? Is there any reason why this has always captured the human imagination, Tamar?
I think it's because terrible things are always happening. Like disasters, and people are thinking, well, this has got to be the worst it's going to get.
I know, Reverend Richard Cole's getting kicked off
Was
strictly.
bad.
It's a sign.
Do you know why he got do you know why he got kicked off
Don't
though?
want
It's because he dressed up as Ming the Merciless. And the weird thing was, there was a guy in Murfield when we were there with him, who was actually, his nickname was Ming the Merciless, but he genuinely looked like Ming from Flash Gordon. That's an interesting aside, right? Yeah. Have you ever seen Flash Gordon?
I have. Of course I have.
Yeah,
I think it was the first movie I ever watched.
People are scared, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
And we want rescuing. People want
Yeah.
rescuing from this. But I think there is a real danger when we go down those sort of rabbit holes. And crikey, there are ever more of those on YouTube. That actually it just acts as a little bit of an antidote to, well, I'm responsible for what happens around me and my world today. It sort of stops us having to sort our own problems out. Go, oh, it's all right. Just hang on. Jesus will make it all better in a minute.
But isn't there a kind of secular side to this as well, though? Is that if you notice in culture, all the young adult books at the moment, and books and films, are all based around some kind of apocalyptic future. So like we've got Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, all of them are based around this idea that society is going to fall apart. And perhaps, you know, we have got to the point in our society now where we're in a time of transition, isn't it? And that's always stressful for people.
Well, we're
And
always in a time of transition.
Yeah.
But I think the transition today is more accelerated than it was, say, 50 years ago. If we think about, I think it's about similar to like the Industrial Revolution culturally, I think, with technology and with how we live.
Information
our lives.
age.
entertainment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so I think the pace of change is faster,
It
and
is.
you know, than it was before. So, you know, do your mates time out as a person who's infinitely younger than me? Yeah, do they see a future in society?
I think young people are pretty hopeful, to be honest.
You reckon?
I think more than I've seen before, young people are getting passionate about things and getting involved in politics and believing that they can change things. I don't think people are thinking like, oh, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. They're like banding together.
So you think that then is like old codgers then making things like Hunger Games and stuff and things like that is just a kind of a sort of depressed hippie way of looking at the world then?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if older people are.
I don't know.
I think in entertainment, dystopian novels are just fun to read. There's always been dystopian novels. Like there is.
And there's always been an older generation that said, oh, this younger generation, it's all, look what they're doing, they're making all these wrong choices. And their parents will have said it about them.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, Socrates said that, didn't he?
Well-
He despaired about the youth of today.
yeah, and that's really normal. But I think there's a huge swathe of Christian stuff that you can find that really digs down into this stuff, and some of it, I mean, we laugh about it, but it frightens quite a lot of people, and there is a huge amount of energy and effort interpreting the times. And I think the latest Antichrist is Donald Trump's
Aid,
son-in-law. Oh my gosh,
It's usually the Pope, isn't it?
Honestly, 5 minutes, just follow a thread that you're taking down, and it's also obvious, and you've got people dressed in clothes that should make you feel like you should trust them, and giving you very sound biblical cases, but it is not right.
I think they forget that Jesus himself said, "No one knows, not even I, when the end will come." That's reserved specifically for the Father in heaven.
My missus got a theory about that, all right. She reckons that God's up in heaven, right, going, right, he picks the day, right? So say he says it's like July the 15th, 2050, right? And then some muppet on Earth picks the same day randomly, and God's like, oh no one's supposed to know. So he keeps on delaying it all the time. So the only time we've got Jesus will come back, right,
So that's
is when...
kind of
People's
you know what I mean?
inverted Zionism.
Yeah, she's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't think she's serious. I don't think it's a serious deal. That's more of a joke.
That's brilliant.
But I think the other thing is that what I have noticed is that things like in the 70s there was one called the Thief in the Night series, right, which we were made to watch when I was a teenager, which was hilarious and terrifying, right? Yeah. And it's the only thing that me and Marilyn Manson have in common. And
Doubt
the
that.
other one, well, I don't know about that. And the other one, which came out a few years ago, which is an infinite laugh, was the Left Behind series.
Oh, I remember seeing that when I was a kid
brilliant.
and being
Yeah,
terrified.
really scary.
I was like, Mum, you sure I won't be left behind? She was like, yes, Tamar, you're a Christian.
But what do we do then
Yeah,
with
because
the
fear is
whole
the big driver.
left behind stuff, the whole apocalyptic stuff in the Bible? What are we supposed to do with that if not interpret it? And I think we do need to be
For
talking about
Christians,
that.
trust in Christ.
Well, I think the other thing is something that my training incumbent said about this made more sense, is he was in Sierra Leone during the Civil War there, which is far more apocalyptic than anybody could possibly imagine here. And he was walking through villages, where there'd been massacres and things like that. And he said that was the only time that Revelation made any sense to him. Because what Revelation's actually saying is that no matter how powerful these earthly forces appear to be, no matter how much destruction they can give, there will be a reckoning, and God is with you throughout it, which is what it's actually trying to say rather than the beast being Donald Trump's whatever.
Work out all the numbers.
Whatever
Yeah.
it is. And I think the trouble is with it sometimes is that's sort of exciting and interesting, but what we always have to remember is that God is with us and justice will be done. That's the bottom line, is justice will be done. So thanks for the question. It's always a laugh, especially as a metal fan, to have a chat about the end times. But what we've been trying to say, I suppose, in summing up, is don't worry about it, because God is there with us throughout and justice will be done, as Revelation says. And woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows his time is short.
Amen.
And that's what it is he knows his time is short. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and send in your questions really quickly, because the end is nigh.
Because the computers are taking over. That's it now, isn't it?
Love
They've
it. Makes
gone.
life easier.
Sometimes.
Till they rise up.
One day they'll stop giving me storage to my life and charge me a subscription.
Yeah,
I am
true.
very aware that that is going to happen.
They probably know more about you than your own family do.
For sure.